dumpsters. Waste Mexico provides compactors, roll-off containers, dumpsters, waste management, recycle services, and waste removal cleanup for home, construction, and business. We have trash containers varying in sizes from 2 yards to 40 yards. If we don't have the size you need, we'll get it. We're a locally owned and operated waste management company, currently offering waste management and trash services in Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Bernalillo, Sandoval, and Valencia County areas. Let 60-plus years of combined garbage removal and trash pickup experience work for you.
Champion Cryotherapy is Albuquerque's leading provider of non-invasive cold therapy for weight management, pain management, beauty and wellness, and athletic recovery. Champion Cryotherapy provides a safe and natural athletic performance and recovery benefits such as faster recovery from stress of athletic performances, competitive sports, and training. Champion Cryotherapy, you could visit us, Wyoming Boulevard, just south of Paseo del Norte. That's 821 Cryo. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with ProView Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico High School athletics. Terry's been a local farmers agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Before you go viral, make an appointment with Feedy Family Dentistry, now with 2 locations to serve you in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho.
Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is Chad Wallin, the head football coach at Volcano Vista. And Chad, thanks for coming down and hanging out with me.
Absolutely, great. Thanks for having me.
You know, Chad, this year, last year, help me out, man. This might be 6 years now.
Yeah.
It's 6 years.
5 or 6 years straight.
And one thing, it's like yesterday where you just came on and you're talking about, Volcano taking the program and only head coach, correct?
Right, so far, yeah.
So that's got to be seeded. And are you getting your system in where you want it to be after 6 years now?
It's been 10 years that the school's been open. 6 years since we made that jump from, I think we were 4A to 5A, and then they increased us to 6 when they made the extra class. Every year's different. Feel like, there for a few years we had things going the way we liked. Had a number of coaches move on to be head coaches, so replacing coaches on a regular basis has been interesting and kind of made the job a little more challenging because it's all about, creating a culture with the team. And, every year's different, but we like how things are going.
And talk about, I'd say you're getting to be a veteran type coach. I mean, you think 6 years, 10 years in, and having the program. But you look across just the metro area, is that everybody's almost 6 to 7 years as head coach.
Yeah.
And then it makes it, and that's why I think, as we talked before we went on the program, is that makes this football exciting because, when you're not having changeover, it means coaches are getting their system, they're having some success.
Sure, there's got to be continuity. Just bringing in new coaches or new schemes with a team can really sometimes take years to get things the way you want them. I know, Coach Barker's been at Sandia, 20 years.
2017 and 24
7
years.
At
24 years total.
Coach Dodson started as the head coach at El Dorado about the same year that I started at Volcano. So there's been a few guys that have been around a while.
And Dodson, he was also the head, wrestling coach. So he had that head experience and understood what it takes to,
Sure. Yeah, I think running a program, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, they all have their challenges, but just knowing how to do that is important. And Coach Dodson did a great job with the wrestling program for years before he became the head football coach.
And even looking at your district, you got Rod Williams now. This is his 5th year, or what? And it just seemed like yesterday he just started with his program, and then. House has been, I don't know how long he's been there, but he's been there at least 10 or 15 years.
Something.
And then Reinauer's, he's been the head coach. I think this is his 3rd or 4th year, but he's been the assistant coach from the day
since it opened.
It opened. So
yeah, you're talking about some good coaches. I mean, all 3 of those guys that you mentioned, phenomenal coaches. And I have firsthand experience with Rod since he was an assistant of mine for a number of years. And all 3 of those schools are sure lucky to have the guys they have.
And one thing, I went to your first game and talked with you. You're excited about this year. I mean, I can just tell. I mean, it's not about so much that we're a great team and this. You're just excited about your players, your coaching staff, and you can just see it, that energy transmit onto the field.
As I've done this, like I said, each year is different. Each year presents different challenges. But what I've really learned over the last 10 years of being a head coach, and really the last 3 or 4 years, is kids come and go through the program, and we have some great ones, and we have some hard-working, blue-collar type of ball players, but less about X's and O's and schemes. It's about culture and about how the kids buy in, and the parents buy in, and the support for the program. And right now it's fun. This year has a whole new feel to it. The culture's better. The kids are really buying into what we're asking them to do, and that makes the football season more enjoyable.
Coming into this year, I mean, and I always ask this question, it's probably due, but there's always expectations. I know that you go through your season and I should win this game, and this game here is a question mark, and and are you where you're at right now, when you kind of started out that?
I think so. Like I said, I think
you'd like to be
everybody wants to be. Sure. As you get your schedule, I think it's human nature for you to look at games you think you should win, games you were going to be tight, and some games that are going to be really, really tough. I think everybody does that. We try to break the season up into 3 seasons, pre-district, district, and hopefully we did well enough in those 2 to make the playoffs. We've got 2 more in our pre-district season, and we'd sure like to finish strong and give ourselves a pretty good record going into district.
Well, if you finish strong in pre-district, then right now you have 1 loss, and you're going to be pretty high in the polls. And I think that really is, you want to be 8 or less. I mean,
sure.
you want to be number 1. I don't even know if you even want to be number 1. I mean, I'm just saying you want to be in the top 8 where you get a home game.
Sure. The first round bye is always nice. Interesting. Last year our bye week in our football season was week 11. We end up having a bye week, and then our playoff game we earned a bye and a home game against Hobbs, and so we had 2 weeks off leading into that game. So sometimes it depends on how your schedule breaks down. But everybody wants to host a home game in the playoffs. Absolutely.
Well, let's kind of take a look at your team. We got your first game, East-West game, was the Valley, and if you'll help me do some play-by-play, and I'll do the color, and
sure.
And let Alden get this thing in. Here we are. We're at Community Center, on a great weather this time.
Yeah, it was a warm day, Saturday afternoon. Valley was a team we didn't know a whole lot about. We didn't see them much in the summer. Didn't compete with them in any 7-on-7s. New coach, although everybody knows Coach Chavez, but we didn't know much about them. Weren't 100% sure what offense they'd be running, what their defense would do. The only film we had on them was a scrimmage, and they're just like us. Nobody gives. Try not to show too many of your cards.
Right there, it's hard not to show that. That's.
Yeah, we wanted to be real aggressive with them. We had our kids pretty amped up for the game. Because we didn't know much about them, we didn't want to start this game off slow and feel like we gave them any indication of success. And they battled. I know I have a real close family friend that has a son on their team. I've known Coach Chavez a long time, but we just really wanted to jump on them and make sure that this game was never in doubt.
What I'm seeing right here is offense and defense. You've got a block punt, you've got interception, and guess what? You're on the radar. All of a sudden, everybody's. How good is Balcana Vista?
Our kick return. We start the game with a kickoff return for a touchdown. Interesting story. We're in the huddle. We're talking about which return we want to run. The kid that is going to return the ball calls it. He says, "I want to go to this side, and I'll return it to the house." And sure enough, he gets the ball, and he's right up the sideline for a touchdown. So a great way to start the season.
Decisive win and again, expectations come in. Didn't know a lot about Valley. You know, a lot of people didn't know about Valley. I mean, they,
Sure.
you know, and then there's always that. Did Judge get it done? And you know, and then when talking with Judge, I mean, what a year to come back. He has no facilities. He has no
weight room. They're lifting on the
no weight
field.
room. No, I
Yep.
mean, and he says it's, you know, and you know, he kept, you know, when he was on my show, he was my first guy on my show this summer, and he goes, Steve, he goes, well, you know, you know, we're going to be mentally, at least we're going to be mentally tough because we don't know where, you know, we don't know. He goes, from day to day, I don't know where, we don't have a locker room,
Right.
and we have to move from classroom to locker. We don't have a bathroom.
And that was all based off of that injunction, right? The bond that passed, the money for facility improvements, and then some Yahoo takes it upon himself to serve an injunction on the.
Yeah, and that scared him. I mean,
bond,
and I go, now you got into politics. You're sitting there going, wait a second, you know, and he's like, luckily none of that happened.
Well, and it ended right in the middle of the construction. I mean, the gym has been fenced off for six months now.
Right. It's so he's right in the middle of this, and then, you know, here's Joe Coleman. I'm thinking about the whole you know, ball. I mean, everything's just kind of like.
What a circus.
Yeah, and then you got to, you know, hey, you still got to go compete. I mean,
right.
you got to put it behind you and go with it.
You ask any coach, and you want to minimize distractions, and they had one front and center the entire summer.
So with, you know, you're feeling good. I mean, I know you're feeling actually, you know, really great. I mean, you win that game. That's something that any win's a win. Then you let's go to another highlight. Let's go to the next week.
So next week's El Dorado.
El Dorado team that Charlie Dodson, I can talk. He said he was down and everything, but Charlie, you just don't believe what it's. You just can't. Last year he stayed terrible, and he goes to the state finals. And
when they walk out, and they were well coached, monsters. I think that's the Mayfield game.
You know,
that one's Mayfield, but that was our last game. That's West Mesa.
And we're working through it here.
Yeah.
I put him on the spot because I didn't think we were going to get to it. So.
Absolutely. But you know, El Dorado just well coached, motivated, big kids this year. Big up front, speed on the backside. You know, great offensive coordinator, and Coach Castillo, who does a great job making sure his teams, you know, got opportunities to score, and they just attack you.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, you get it off to a good start. I mean, El Dorado comes up, and then you're down. I mean,
well, it's 31-6 at half, and for us, the challenge at halftime was making sure our kids didn't quit. Want to come out and finish strong and battle, and played a great second half, and I think we got it within 24-38. And then another touchdown called back on a hold, and we just couldn't sustain that momentum.
You got some players. I mean, you know, you got some athletes that can make the difference. And you know, so where were you in your coaching staff mentally after having a great week? You know, coming off a lot of expectations. I mean, you got ProView, you got everybody. Mm-hmm. That was probably the game of the week. That, you know, I think we put that game up over all the other games, and because one, you know, you like to score, and Charlie likes to score. So I thought, you know, this is going to be a great up and down the deal, and traditionally, y'all fight it out down to the end.
You know, yeah, it's always a good game. We've played them every year since our school's opened. So, you know, obviously being another APS school, so we know each other pretty well. Their kids play hard, you know, and you have to match that intensity, and they're big up front. And they came out, and like I said, you know, in high school football, 1 or 2 plays really can make a difference. And we opened the game, and we've got a nice drive going. I think we're in the red zone, right around the 25. And we miss a block up front, hit our quarterback, we fumble, they pick the ball up, run it back, and they score and go up 7-0 when we really felt like we were just about to really build some momentum with the opening series, and we could not recover. We could not get anything to just build on until second half. We come out, make a few adjustments on defense, and we get a defensive touchdown in the first series. And then things got going for us. But, you know, we sure didn't play very well in the game. I can't speak to how well they played because their coaches know their players a lot better than we do, but they sure looked like they played pretty well.
Well, I think what I'm hearing from you is that they kind of came out and, they stopped your deal. They got momentum going on. You didn't match their energy in the first half, and it was kind of like and that's one thing I think all coaches are looking for is maybe you didn't win the game, but you came out in the second half and you came out and competed. So and I think that's more important than winning the game, is because they could have went south on you. It's because they're all of a sudden nobody's talking good about them.
No, and that's kind of what we wanted to make sure happened. Motivating the players is a big part of being a good coach. We were flat in the El Dorado game. We were worried about the hangover of how poorly we played in that game affecting us against West Mesa the following week. And so we're just, as coaches, sometimes we've got to take a step back from the schemes and the X's and O's and work on the mental part of the game with the players about, silly penalties and motivation and how hard you're playing and that kind of stuff. And we were worried about that going into week 3 and see how that would affect us after that game of just really, big game against El Dorado, hyped up really big, and we just did not show up very well.
How did you respond? I think how did you respond on Monday practice when you came out? That's something that you learn about your team real quick. Did they have their heads down, or did they come out and all right?
Yeah.
We're not as good as we think we are, but
Sure.
we're still good. But
Sure.
we just didn't come out and play for 4 quarters. I guess that's the bottom line.
It's staring you in the face about your weaknesses, or at least what your weaknesses were the week before. And we had to really work hard that week to improve those. I don't know how anybody else's practices are, but for us, JV games are typically Mondays. So half our coaching staff is gone, half our team's over on a JV football game. So Monday practices are not historically very good for us. They're shells practices, they're big team learning days as we start working on scouting report, teaching the scouting report and the game plan to our players. And Mondays are typically not very good. And if I remember right, I don't think Mondays against West Mesa was very good at all.
But as the week got going,
we got better. Yeah, our players. We did some things, like you said. We worked different drills and we try to talk the boys up and. In our preparation, and that was a week of not trying to do anything more than what we do in our base offense and defense to get ready for West Mesa. And I think there's some comfort in that with the players. When we're trying to install new schemes on a weekly basis, there can be confusion, and I don't think there was any with the West Mesa game. It was real fundamental for us.
Well, how did the coach? I know all coaches on Sunday. Everybody thinks that they're watching the NFL games, but if you're like any coaching staff, it's Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, and it's like all day Sunday.
Yeah, Sundays are our work days. We don't get to watch many NFL football games. Typically, I know our staff, we meet early in the morning, and we typically go till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So we go a good 6, 7, 8 hour work day. Depending on the number of films.
Yeah, that's where you put out your Monday schedule, knowing that your coaches are not going to be here. Here's what we're going to put in here. Then Tuesday we're going to do this. Sure. Wednesday, Thursday, and
sure.
then
it's all about gathering information first. We scout, gather all our tendencies and all our information from our opponent for the next week. Coaching staff breaks up for us, and we start game planning a little bit. Talking about what we need to do offensively or what we need to do on defense to be successful the next week. Then we come together as a staff and we talk about how we're going to implement it, and then how the schedule's going to go that week. And then it just, just like a lesson in a classroom. You've got to have a lesson plan for the week of teaching that game. So,
one thing that is you look, once you get your head kicked in, so it opens up, opens up like. I wouldn't say you got your head kicked in, but I'm just saying, okay, but I'm just saying that it opens up. Do you start second guessing your star players and look to see? Is it too early in the season, or is it maybe somebody in the JV had a great or
sure.
The JV had a deal, and maybe you're looking, or somebody's banged up, and
sure.
you're trying to get. Because you have to balance all that, because everybody wants to play, and that's kind of a science of being a head coach.
Well, the one we're stealing right now is coach at Ohio State, Urban Meyer, has a book, and he talks about how he prepares and treats his team. Your top 10% of players are always your top 10%. Those are your stars that show up on a regular basis and work hard, and those are your superstars. Coaches tend to spend a lot of time with that 10%. Then there's the 80% of your team that is the guys that are your blue-collar hard workers, your average football players that you really need them to perform well for you to be successful. And then you have the bottom 10% of the guys that are disgruntled, whose parents don't think they play enough. And as coaches, over the past, as I read this book, I found myself agreeing with them. I spent most of my time focused on my top 10% and my bottom 10%. And I was forgetting about our 80% where our games are won and lost. And so we've done a very diligent job of making sure we do that.
I mean, that's what you got to balance that out. I mean,
absolutely.
and just because you have your top 10, probably, Cormier and the quarterback. I mean, if you look at all the teams, I mean, it's like I can go through the whole deal. There's like I can name 4 of the top kids, right?
Go around any program, and I think you can name 5 or 6. I don't want to say superstar football players, but the top 10% of every team are their best players. You go to Rio Rancho and certain names pop up. You go to Cleveland and certain names pop up. Go to Volcano Vista and certain players' names pop up. That's our top 10%, and they typically are always going to do what the top 10% always do. We've got to focus on that 80%. We've got to focus on those guys that may not get the notoriety or may not be that top 10%, but those are the guys grinding it out for us. And sometimes those are the guys that make the difference between wins and losses.
Well, Chad, we're going to go to some of our sponsors, and then we're going to do the top 10 plays of the week, and let's see if any of your players made the top 10 plays.
You never know.
Dr. George Stribble, the ultimate sports chiropractor, is a proud sponsor of ProView Sports. For 34 years, he has been a chiropractor for sports injuries, soft tissue, muscle fatigue, muscle sprains, neck and back injuries. Dr. Stribling specializes in a kinesio taping technique that is designed to facilitate the body's natural healing process while providing support and stability to muscles and joints without restricting the body's range of motion. Sports injuries are Dr. Stribling's specialty.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between, Garden Schwartz Team Sales has the products and professional services you'll need to be your best. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Out there with a first down and goal. A pitch, it was dropped, and look at this. Nothing but green out in front. There's about 11 Ram jerseys, and that's going to be taken to the house. Touchdown. Opening quarter. Slicing run beautifully by Willis, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown.
Right side. Quarterback draw. Turns it up. 25, 20. He's gone. Touchdown ball. Volcano Vista.
Throwing left sideline, that is a catch, and that is a race to the end zone.
Just kind
in, throws it up, throws it in the end zone, up for a grab. Caught, touchdown! Oh, mercy, what?
Chess Network, I'm out of field. Glad you could join us from Rio Rancho High School. Kickoff by Oñate straightaway. And Rio Rancho will take it, and look at this shot out of a cannon in a lot of room. Across the 40, moving to the 30, to the 20, and it's Lucero all the way. Touchdown on the opening kickoff.
And, they just have the playmakers they did last year. Here comes the punt. I think that's Baeza deep, but he fields it about the 27 of Las Cruces. Got some room down the left sideline. Across 40, 30, makes a move. Baeza is going to score. Brandon Baeza, 54-yard punt return, and Las Cruces leads 13-0.
Foley's in the backfield, Little. Plenty of time, will fire down the middle. A diving play and a catch inside the 15 at the 13, first down. And
3rd and 13 for Las Cruces. 5-step drop for ball, looking across the middle. There's Baeza again, it's got it to 50. Move it to 45, still on his feet. Taking tacklers with him. Baeza might take it to the house. Finally dragged down at about the Valley.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of ProView Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but 2 great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loan. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
At ProView Networks, we get better every day. For example, we've got some interns that are just fired up.
Bird.
Hey, what's up?
All right, got a list for you? Okay. Need it done by the end of today. Don't forget the coffee.
Okay. Hey, Jason. You got your coffee, all the stuff you need on the list?
Okay. Wow. Good job, Bird.
Football's back. ProView Networks live every week on Comcast 26. All brought to you by Crown Jewels and Coin. Crown Jewels and Coin for all you treasure.
We have Chad Wallin, the head football coach at Belcana Vista, and actually feeling good right now. I mean, you're 3-1, and I know every game you're excited for this next week. But let's go back to some highlights of the next week. We've done Valley and we've done El Dorado, and let's pick up the next one.
So West Mesa, start the game, get a field goal block or a punt block for a touchdown.
That's got to feel good. I mean, that's good in any game, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime special teams or defense can score, and we've been really fortunate. I think we have 2 defensive touchdowns so far this year. I know we have 3 special team touchdowns. Against West Mesa, it would have been a whole lot better. We had 5 touchdowns called back. The guy on our sideline thought he got paid by the flag he threw, and he called that one back. He called a vertical pass by Abram Schapp back for a touchdown. And so, for us, we just had to clean it up, not focus on those things, and just try to get better at the mental part of the game. Physically thought we were playing really, really hard in this game.
And West Mesa is a scary team. Wrong with math, this team here is, you made their mistakes and you made them pay for them.
Sure. The thing at West Mesa that's intriguing is they sure got some good-looking ball players. We call them dudes. They got some dudes over there. They come out on the field during the pregame, and there's 5 or 6 good-looking football players, you know, tall, athletic-looking, fast. So they're a scary team. You better show up when you play them.
And then and they played a tough schedule. I mean, they've had. I mean, and I shouldn't beat that up. I think every schedule's tough.
Sure.
But you know, if you look at people's I think guys like myself, we look too much at his a perfect example, and we're going to come up to it here in just a second. Is, you know, here's El Dorado beats you. Okay, El Dorado goes down the next weekend and plays Mayfield, and Mayfield beats El Dorado. Rio Rancho kills Mayfield in the first game of the week, and then you don't think that they have any outlet because their star running back is going, but then they get some momentum going.
It's Mayfield. You know, they're kind of a machine. Great coaching staff, great tradition. You play them, kind of like we were talking about matching the intensity of El Dorado. You know, Mayfield's always been that way. And, you know, early in my coaching career, I was down in Las Cruces, so we played Mayfield and Cruces every year at JV and varsity level. And, you know, they come out on the field and they're chanting Green Machine, and I mean, they really are a machine. And yes, not having
and they're
Vance is a big
methodical.
draw.
People. I like to go. I mean, if you know, I don't know if you know this. I like to go to the game. I actually have more fun an hour before the game than actually doing the game because I got to worry about if the internet's working, and I got to worry about if the moving parts are working. But before the game, I just sit back and I watch how everybody's getting ready for the game, and how there's different. Every coach has their own system.
Oh, they do. I mean, we watched. I think Siebla started a few years back, and I really liked it. You know, their players come out and during their warm up, they don't have shoulder pads on, so it's just kind of loosening up and warming up.
As you just kind of each third. Tim, I mean, I used to do that in basketball.
Absolutely. You know, you watch West Mesa come out and they're doing a hitting drill before the game, trying to get their kids amped up. You know, Mayfield comes out and they're very methodical about how they warm up, and you know, everybody's a little bit different.
You know, they're like a band because their lines are perfect. I mean,
every coach wants it to be that way, and I mean, it looks very well orchestrated. You know, they look like the movie Remember the Titans. They're doing push-ups, and the push-ups are in sync, and the sit-ups are in sync, and you know, give them kudos because they play that way too. You know, I don't know if they watch film and they grade their kids.
Clovis
poorly.
is similar that way too. Clovis.
Sure. I think it's a sign of a great staff, you know, that's that well organized, and not just in pregame, but that stuff carries over in the way you play, and I think that's something that you have to know with Mayfield is it doesn't matter if Vance is out, they're going to be good.
Well, I think it's how you prepare for that game.
Sure.
So in other words, it's all right. Take everything serious. The warm-up is one. Let's loosen up. Let's get your muscles going. Let's don't overkill yourself because you know and I think what I see with Mayfield and I've watched. I just go in and I just love just watching. I sit back and everybody's thinking, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't even care about the game. I just really like the hell of the team, and I make judgments. And I've done this all my whole life. I make judgments on who's going to win the game by the warm-up preparation a lot of times.
My dad does that at the horse races. He watches those things come out in the same way. That's funny.
And so, with that being said, you know, here before you play Mayfield, you're 2-1, and I'll make sure. You know what? The ProView Network staff didn't vote on. You know, we pick our games of the week or whatever, but. We picked it as the top game to watch. Okay, all right. So because of Bradley and there was a question mark. You know, I mean, from just the outside in looking at your team. I mean, it's not a like nothing bad or good. It's like, oh, who's going to show up? I mean, is the penalties and things are going to hurt you? The middle mistakes.
That's kind of our MO. You know, I think one of the biggest things for us. After not playing well against El Dorado, I didn't think we played great against West Mesa. I mean, just talking with the boys after the game is for a score of 34-14 or whatever it ended up, you know, very lopsided score. It didn't feel like that type of game to me. And whether it was the penalties, the turnovers, I don't know what it was, but there was something about it that we didn't walk away from that game feeling very good. And for our football players to
And you
come
know
out-
what? People watching the game. I mean, not only did it from the coaching staff and I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I wasn't there. I watched the game. I watched it at Sinners and Saints, and I could just, you can almost see it translate from the field to the camera.
You could feel it on the sidelines. We had no energy. You know, like I said, we had 5 touchdowns called back. That stuff just ate at us, and every penalty just kind of kept building, and I don't know. It was a really weird football game. Obviously, getting a W is important, and we got it, but we just didn't feel very good about it. And so showing up for Mayfield was an important thing. Our kids kind of came together. I know Monday morning or Monday before practice.
So Monday you had a good practice.
We had a great week of practice leading up to Mayfield, and that's
so
what we keep trying to correlate with them.
because there's a Mayfield coming into town. Mayfield's on a roll right now.
Sure.
I mean, they start off with
Sure.
a kicking by Rio Rancho, and then they beat a good El Paso team. They beat El Dorado team that beat you.
Sure.
And
no, we had to, and I mean that was one of the things we preached with the kids. And I know Monday after school before practice, I walk in the office, and one of the coaches had let the seniors into the back office, and they were having a player meeting. And you know, as a coach, you want to eavesdrop and listen to what they're talking about, but we give them that space, and you know, they came out with a much better attitude about what truly it means it's going to take to win a big football game. We couldn't just show up. We had to put in the work during the week. We had to embrace that learning that what the coaches are trying to instill in them, and then still play with passion, because the game's still about motivation and passion. And it was just night and day from one week to the next. And for us now, we've got to carry on that momentum, and we've got to make sure we've got to feed off of that all year long. That they understand that we want to win some football games. We're going to have to play with this same sense of urgency and the same type of passion.
Well, let's take some look at this highlights of this, and then again, this is a game that caught me off guard. And I was doing multiple things that night, and you guys came out, and here's where you started the game and finished the game.
And that right there, that highlight there is a perfect example of one of our 80%. You know, that's Matt Martinez, who, you know, some games gets lots of reps, some games doesn't get as many, and he comes up with 4 or 5 great catches and scores a touchdown, gets caught on the 1 yard line. You know, there he is again, and that's where one of our, again, that's not David Cormier, who had a great game in himself, or Dylan Gasaway.
Gasaway is the guy that is really, you know, we watched 3 games of highlights, and he probably doesn't get the credit or the accolades that he's a top quarterback in the state, man.
I think so. You know, he's
I'm saying, I'm telling you
Sure.
that I've watched him, and I watched his things that don't coach, and that's when people
talk about it. You know, you think about Volcano Vista, and people talk about David Cormier, and they talk about Chris Streets. Well, Dylan Gasaway has done a phenomenal job at quarterback. You know, our offensive line played their best football game against Mayfield, and we've been waiting for those guys to gel, because we have 3 new starters there. You know, Matt Martinez comes through. Chris Street sprains his ankle, doesn't play the entire second half, and our backup running back comes in and runs like not the kid we're used to, you know, and that's that whole 10-80-10 thing for me. Is a lot of the kids that really stepped up in this game it wasn't just David, it was other guys, and that's important.
And again, that goes to coaching. I mean, you bring this up as far as you know, the 10, 80, and 10 is that if you play those 80, I mean, they move up into that 90, 90, 95, you know.
We would love for it to be more like 80, 10, 10.
Right.
But I you know, I think as you coach, it can slowly gravitate towards that, because the more involved and the more important kids feel, the more they are bought into things. And so we've got to do a good job of that.
And not to throw, you know, a target in your back or whatever, but you know, I look at Cleveland last year. They were like an 80 team. I mean, they had players. You knew the whole. I mean, it was in the year before when House Rio Rancho. I mean, yeah. I knew their starting guard. I knew their deal. I knew the whole thing, because I was watching how the whole team. I mean, I didn't even make statements when I did games. I could probably run through that with those guys.
You know, Rio Rancho Public Schools is doing a phenomenal job. They're doing something. You know, 2 of the last 3 years, a school from that school district has run the gamut, gone undefeated, and won the entire thing. You add the 2011 Cleveland team in, and 3 of the last 5 seasons, somebody's gone undefeated from the Rio Rancho Public Schools and run all the way through their schedule and gone undefeated and won the state championship. So they've got something going really well right now.
Well, let's talk about that. When the guy named Bruce Carver, that's the head athletic director of both schools, and then you take both athletic directors, Cleveland and their top-notch quality, and then
every sport.
And then it's not right.
Athletic.
And then you take the ministers, the principals of both schools. I mean, and so they're committed to the sports. And then now what's happening is the community is really getting behind them.
Sure. Well, I think they do a good job. It's a small school district, so they definitely have some advantages. I mean, it's 2 high schools. Managing 2 high schools is a lot different than being in APS where there's 13 high schools. But they do a good job of identifying what each individual sport needs. And let's face it, each sport at each school could be different. You know, the needs at Rio Rancho High School's football program versus the needs at Cleveland's football program could be different. They do a good job of identifying what sport team each sport team needs, and they help them with those things. Sometimes in larger school districts, you don't have that luxury. It's got to be a canned policy for all, and that's tough sometimes.
Well, Chad, we're going to come back. We're going to take a little break here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the rest of your 2 games before pre-district. We're going to talk about district, and then we'll talk about the whole state.
Okay, absolutely.
Stop living with summer heat. Get a super efficient AC systems from Sunshine Plumbing and Heating and eliminate all worry for a full 10 years. Now that's a bold guarantee. Call now and get your free system design consultation and learn more about how our bold guarantee can help eliminate your worry for a full 10 years. Comfort you can afford. Call Sunshine Plumbing today, 296-3188. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with ProView Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of ProView Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean. Champion Cryotherapy is Albuquerque's leading provider of non-invasive cold therapy for weight management, pain management, beauty and wellness, and athletic recovery. Champion Cryotherapy provides a safe and natural athletic performance and recovery benefits such as faster recovery from stress of athletic performances, competitive sports, and training. Champion Cryotherapy, you could visit us, Wyoming Boulevard, just south of Paseo del Norte. That's 821 Cryo.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loan. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with ProView Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Day Show. Got Chad Wallin, head football coach at Volcano Vista, and Chad, I know you. Isn't it amazing? It's 4 weeks, one more game, and the season's halfway over.
It's flying by. It's flying by. You spend December through July waiting for the season, and it just seems like it takes forever. And now we're a month in, 4 games into the football season, and it's just flown by.
Big victory, Mayfield. You got a text for me, and again, surprised. Not surprised. It's just that all of a sudden your team has arrived. Now, where do you go from here? Do you rest on this last week morals, or do you?
If you want to finish 3-7, then you rest on the laurels of this win. But for us, we've got a tough Atrisco game coming up.
Pat Johnson, we talked about him. Class guy. Atrisco Heritage got numbers. They have, they're competing with you with numbers.
Sure.
Right now.
They do a great job. I think his coaching staff does a great job. They create a lot of problems for their opponent in their schemes of offense and special teams and defense. So we're not resting our laurels on the Mayfield game. Atrisco will beat us by 50 if we don't show up. So we got to have a great week of practice and really get after it.
The only difference this year with Atrisco, and I could be wrong, I haven't watched them, but is they don't have a bean. They don't have a breakaway one player that can lull you to sleep and all of a sudden do it. But you still got to go beat them. They're not going to have penalties.
Right.
Okay, they're going to make decisions on game. They're going to punt, and they're going to do the little things that win ball games.
Sure. No, they're very sound. They just, like I said, they create problems. They create mismatches with schemes and do things that are just kind of unordinary, and so you got to be prepared for that.
So the fall game thing's good. It could be a good weekend. And that's probably what and you know what, Patrick Johnson's saying the same thing. He's sitting right here in his deal, and he says that which Volcano Vista teams can we lull them to sleep and get some momentum. And as you and I both know, that ball bounces in different directions. Are they going to jump on you real quick because of a turnover or something that you don't control those elements until you go play the game.
No, and that's what, like we're talking about, that, it's funny how you create your own luck with how hard you play and with the passion and energy you play with, and so that's just something we have to be cognizant of all week.
And I know you don't look, you don't look ahead, but you do look ahead. You're kind of watching, you're watching how all your districts doing, but then you have another opponent at Highland, I believe, the week after that, and. Yeah. A team that's scary. In that district, you're playing 2 teams out of the same district. Those teams, one of those get some momentum going. They're going to end up winning their district.
They're good football teams. Again, Highland, same thing. The following week, very athletic. We played them a number of times this summer during 7-on-7, and their coaches are energetic and enthusiastic. Their players are hooting and hollering. I know after one game during the 7-on-7s, I think they ended up beating us in the 7-on-7 league, and there was a lot of trash talking and stuff going on. So we better show up for that game. They got some good football players.
Well, and again, we don't. I hate I don't even bring it up, but I've been. Maybe a great, you have your bye week, then, right? You go into a bye week before you start district, and you get all your bruises and bumps, and then you're going if I'm correct, you got 4 games. You have 4 games in your district, so you got 1 month just to concentrate.
Yeah, it's a whole other season. For the first time in a long time, our bye week is very favorable. 4 years ago, we had a two-year block where our bye week was week 2. You play a game, then you have your bye week. The last 2 years, our bye week has been week 11. So you play 10 straight games, and then you have a bye week. This year, the bye week comes right before district, and each coach has a different philosophy. But for me, it was a good time for us to have it. I really like it.
Well, and the reason it's a good time is because your first opponent is going to be Rio Rancho in your district, and that's the team. That's the team that's legitimate. Across the board right now, they kind of set a stage above everybody's mark.
Yeah,
they're the team. They got the target on their back. They got they know it.
Yeah, I mean, 4 weeks through, and I don't know the official stats, but I think they're scoring somewhere around 40 points a game, and looks like they're giving up 7. That's quite a margin. You win a lot of football games with that.
And you and I talked and you and I talked about this before the show. Is that a house team, and he can use this as a bulletin board, but I'm just saying, I think of offense. I mean, of an offensive team, and you don't think of a dominating, and his team is a dominating defense, and his defense sets his offense up.
Yeah, they graduated.
They're not using their offense
No.
the last touchdown wins the game.
I don't think you're wrong in that, and they had a 3-year quarterback graduate a year ago. They've been definitely known for offense. This year, I don't know what year the quarterback's in, but I know they've got some younger guys playing the quarterback position. But their defense looks lights out. They're aggressive. They're well coached. They play really, really hard.
There's a pride in that defense. I don't even know if you can coach that. It's just that the kids take that pride in it. That we're just going to go shut you down.
You can say it all you want as a coach, and you can try to preach it, but it's got to be, like you said, it's got to be developed by the players. Somebody
could get out on the defense and just stop that.
Somebody in the group came up with that, and the other players bought into it. And then maybe it was 5 players, or maybe it was the entire group, but somewhere along the lines they decided they wanted to be a dominant defense. And you have to have pride in that. You have to play with that pride. And it's got to bother you when the other team scores. And they sure look like it. They look like they are fighting tooth and nail to make sure you don't score. That's all you can ask.
Well, you get through that game. It doesn't get any easier. That last 4 weeks is
get through Rio Rancho. Then we have Ciebla, who's always a huge rivalry
a team that's
for us.
down, but you can just throw. Hey, you can throw that record out when
Yeah.
I mean, because the last 3 years it's been just.
We watched Ciebla against La Cueva early in the season, and I think Ciebla threw for 350 yards. That was a back and forth game. They came up on the losing end of the game, but that was a good football game, and they look like a good football team. I haven't had a chance to watch them since, but
what La Cueva's doing. I mean, if you put all that thing together, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They decided to run the football. La Cueva quit messing around and started just kind of pounding the football, and that's kind of how they looked like they took over the game. We get done with Ciebla, and we got to travel up to PV, a team we've never played, who's a perennial top 5 team in their in 5A the last 5 or 6 years.
Undefeated?
Undefeated, three teams. Undefeated, got to play them up there, which is going to be obviously a challenge in itself. Yeah, our first one. That'll be our first road trip of the year. Got to travel about 3 hours, get off the bus, and figure out how to play well. And then turn around and play Cleveland, defending state champs, at home on the last game. So our last 4 are crazy.
So we got, we're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back and talk more Volcano Vista football.
Absolutely.
Before you go viral, make an appointment with Feedy Family Dentistry, now with 2 locations to serve you in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho.
Dr. George Stribble, the ultimate sports chiropractor, is a proud sponsor of ProView Sports. For 34 years, he has been a chiropractor for sports injuries, soft tissue, muscle fatigue, muscle sprains, neck and back injuries. Dr. Stribling specializes in a kinesio taping technique that is designed to facilitate the body's natural healing process while providing support and stability to muscles and joints without restricting the body's range of motion. Sports injuries are Dr. Stribling's specialty.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutz Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between, Garden Schwartz Team Sales has the products and professional services you'll need to be your best. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is Chad Wallin, the head football coach at Balcana Vista. And Chad, we kind of got cut off on that last segment, but we got Pedro Vista team that keep your eyes. They're undefeated, favorable schedule. Probably could come into the season undefeated. Our district coming into the district undefeated and moving up in the ranks as far as the coaches polls and
sure. There's 3 undefeated teams in the state right now, and they're in our district, and that's Rio Rancho, PV, and Cleveland. So PV's going to be,
and they're undefeated. So that means that we can say you can string the schedule. They got something going for them.
Sure.
So they're kind of a surprise. I can't wait to see them get to play, to come in.
That's the thing. I mean, they've been a semifinalist team the last 4 or 5 years in 5A. They're a good football team. They're one of those kind of like Artesia. I think if Artesia ever decided they were going to play 6A, I think they'd be just fine also. I think of PV in that same category. They moved up in class to 6A, but I mean, look at their record and look at the program they've had over the last few years. They're going to.
And they have numbers up there. Farmington's growing, everything's growing well, and kind of like Rio Rancho.
Sure.
I mean, they got the administration. They're committed to the sport.
Sure, absolutely. They got it rolling.
And then the last game, it could be a team that could be undefeated. I mean, if you think about it, Cleveland coming in. I mean, they could if they beat Rio Rancho, a team that they had to play before they play you, they actually play them
right before. Yeah, Cleveland's Cleveland. They're going to score a lot of points. The question is, can you match it? Probably the best program in the state the last 3 years, as far as win-losses and what they've done. 2 state championships in 4 years or 3 years. Great coaching staff, great facilities. Playing them is always a challenge, and we get them the last game of the year, and ought to be a great opportunity for us to finish the year up and get ready for the playoffs.
And then that just opens up the season, and we got like about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's just talk about the rest of the state. I mean,
okay.
We've already talked about Rio Rancho, Cleveland. They speak for themselves. And I think I'm in agreement with what everybody's saying is from 2 to 9 or 10. That's wide open.
I think there's a lot of parity there. Cruz is high.
And not that and as we know last year, it was like Cleveland was way up here, and as they got closer to the playoffs,
second with those guys last year. Cruz is high. Looks like they haven't really missed a beat with Coach Miller retiring.
Tough schedule on the road.
Assistant Coach Sanchez takes over the program, and he was a quarterback there. Loves the school. I mean, he's just a mold of Coach Miller. So they really haven't missed a beat. Mayfield's Mayfield. The team out of that 2 teams people aren't really talking about. Centennial's phenomenal. Oñate has a great coaching staff.
Well, Centennial Campo is one of the. You've coached against him when he was at Manzano, and now he's with another team that. Last year, you could have made the argument that he should have been a top,
Absolutely. Those 4 programs out of that staff should be, or out of that district, ought to be in the playoffs. That's a great district. And then you got Hobbs and Carlsbad and Clovis, and Clovis is always the team nobody really wants to play in the playoffs. So I think there's a lot of parity. I think there are a lot of teams that come playoff time, there's going to be a lot of good football games.
Clovis, just don't forget about, our own metro area. You got Manzano, El Dorado, and a team that you've already seen and witnessed, but you got, that district's going to be interesting. You got Clovis, you got El Dorado, Manzano, and Sandin, and 4 of those teams are going to be in the top 10 by the,
Same thing. Who wants to play Manzano, who's, super talented. Again, great head coach. Their best football players seem to be juniors, And I mean, they're a young,
And
talented team.
and we say juniors, and I bring this up because, you know, in 3 weeks, there are no juniors no more.
No, by about week six,
Right.
you're no longer green. You know,
Right,
you're no
right.
longer an inexperienced football player.
You're either getting it done, getting the whole thing going with it, or
you're getting replaced.
or you're getting
Absolutely.
replaced.
Absolutely.
So but that's what's scary, and you can't live on, well, we're young. And Coach Chad Wallin, we had a deal. He says, you know, and you watched him they were even younger last year. And I told everybody, I said, watch this team at the end of the year. Watch what Chad Wallin does with them. They end up tie their district.
I said, and didn't they win the first playoff game?
They won their first play.
And then lost the second one on something really close.
Right.
Was it Mayfield real close, the second game, something like that. But, yeah, you know, that district, again, there's going to be 3 or 4 teams fighting for it. You know, the unique thing about football is we don't get 16 teams in the playoffs. It's a 12-team playoff. You know, other sports are 16 out of 23. I think there are 23 or however many teams are in 6A. 3/4 of them make the playoffs. You know, football, it's a different animal. 12 make it, less than half. So there's going to be some people that are left out that are deserving, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure we're not one of those.
Well, Chad, thanks for coming on, and we ran out of time. And you know what? We just went through the whole season. That was a great day. So and again, thanks for coming on the Steve
Absolutely.
Davis Show.
Thanks for having me.
Champion Cryotherapy is Albuquerque's leading provider of non-invasive cold therapy for weight management, pain management, beauty and wellness, and athletic recovery. Champion Cryotherapy provides a safe and natural athletic performance and recovery benefits such as faster recovery from stress of athletic performances, competitive sports, and training. Champion Cryotherapy, you could visit us, Wyoming Boulevard, just south of Paseo del Norte. That's 821 Cryo.